Hi, everyone. Good evening again. Another Wednesday evening. I'm so happy to be here with you all. Marcia here with another version episode of Sears Bite and a Mouthful. And this evening, we have an interesting lineup of young women who have joined us. And so, without further ado, I'm just going to be adding them as I go along. First, we have Miss Sharona Anderson.
Good
Hi,
evening, everyone.
Sharona. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you for having me tonight.
Thank you so much for joining me and for taking up the offer to be here. And then we have Miss Katrina Walker.
Good night.
And then we also have Dr. Jamelia Harris. And so we have an excellent lineup of young, gifted, and Black women. Women of excellence, young women of excellence. So, ladies, thank you so very much for accepting my invitation to be here this evening. And so, we are also having a surprise guest, and she's coming on a little bit earlier than I had anticipated. And so, let me just join her to the stream before I start the program. Hi, Dr. Bailey, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. Good evening, ladies.
Hi, good evening,
Seen this
Dr.
lovely
Neil.
face in what? Well, over some 15 years, could be. When
Yeah.
when did you leave Immaculate? 2006.
2006? Yeah,
So about
2006.
15 years. It's awesome. Great to see you again, Dr.
Thanks
Bailey.
for having me.
I can't call you Stacy anymore. I have to give you a title.
It's okay. You know me way before the title. It's okay.
Uh,
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have an amazing lineup of young women of excellence who are an inspiration not just to themselves and to to their families, but to all of us as parents who have made us proud, as neighbors who are amazed. Well, not so much amazed because we already could see the excellence that was in these young women as they were growing up. And so I'll start out with an introduction to Miss Katrina Walker. And let me just highlight her for you for your purposes so that you will see exactly who I am talking about. So, this, ladies and gentlemen, is Miss Katrina Walker. She is a fourth year Doctor of Pharmacy student at the University of the West Indies. She is diligent, organized, and balanced as she traverses her studies, serving her student body, being a volunteer extraordinaire and an advocate against gender based violence. Ms. Walker has served on the University of the West Indies Guild Secretariat, the University Pharmacy Student Association, the Anti Cancer Research Jamaica Foundation, and the Jamaica Kidney Kids, very important Kids Foundation, to name a few. She was also awarded the Monica Minotts Award for the Most Outstanding Junior Optimist and is currently a peer support provider. Katrina Walker strives to do all she can to the best to assist those around her. Katrina's motto, Walk with Walker, will have you taking an easy stride with her throughout her journey and to serve and to do good. Katrina is an avid Christian believer who believes that if you put God first, you can never be last. Katrina, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for
I'm going to be taking a stride alongside you this evening. Um, I can't jog with you because I can't keep up to your pace, neither in age nor in academic achievement, but I'll take a gentle stroll with you this evening.
thanks.
Um, and so I'll go next to Dr. Jamelia Harris. And let me just highlight her for you as well. Let me take Miss. Um, okay, and so here we go. Looking at Why am I not getting you coming up, Dr. Harris? Okay, let me go to Miss Anderson. Why am I having problems? Okay, well, let me come to Sharona and see. Okay. Okay, so we will go to Miss Sharona Anderson. Sharona Patrice Anderson is an actuarial science major at the University of Leicester in England. Her early life was one of great humility and still is. She's a very humble person. Sharona is a third of 9 siblings. So, ladies and gentlemen, make no mistake with this one, she has her own entourage. Sharona is a third of 9 siblings for her parents. Sharona saw her parents struggle to care for 9 children. So she determined to chart a different course for her life from an early age. Specifically, she wanted a life where she could live in comfort and to be able to take care of herself and those around her. Sharona attained 9 CXC subjects and matriculated to the University of Technology, Jamaica, where she graduated with a first class honors in the Bachelor of Science in Actuarial Science program. Sharona then moved on to serving at the Bank of Jamaica in the Electronic Securities Depository. Still determined to achieve more and to improve her marketability, Sharona enrolled at the University of Leicester, where she is now in her final year of her Masters of Science program in Actuarial Science. Her journey was not without challenge. In 2011, she had a diagnosis, and I'll let her tell you more about that as we speak. And this is a chronic and progressive disease of the nervous system that affects adults living in equatorial areas of the world and causes progressive weakness, stiff muscles, muscle spasm, and sensory disturbances, to name a few. There are no known cure for the disease in which she's fighting. But Sharona continues to defy the odds and to redefine the true meaning of inner strength and resilience. In 2020, Sharona partnered with her sister to establish their own hair care and natural skin program lined lineup named Raga Nats.
That's correct.
Okay, so as we go along, I'm just introducing our panelists, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us out there in Facebook land. Remember to like, share, and of course, to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And so, Sharona, thank you so much. Let me just give highlights to one of the other ladies.
No problem.
And so let me go to Dr. Bailey. Hi again, Dr. Bailey. It's so good to see you. Dr. Stacey N. Bailey, PhD, is a cancer prevention and control postdoctoral fellow at the, could you say this for me, Stacey?
Icon.
At the Icahn School of Medicine
Yeah.
at Mount Sinai, New York. She earned her doctoral degree in biomedical engineering from
Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute.
Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute. Dr. Bailey's research interest lies in the development of new strategies to predict, manage, and mitigate bone fractures in cancer patients. She is a first-generation college graduate born in Kingston, Jamaica, and has 6 siblings. Thank you so much, Dr. Bailey, for joining me, and we'll definitely talk more as we go along in this.
Yes, I realized my bio wasn't that extensive, so feel free to
Definitely,
post and get more
I'll give
personal
you-
information.
And I'll give you the opportunity just to add as we go along. All right?
Sure.
Okay, good. And so I come to Dr. Jamelia Harris. Or am I having problem giving you a proper layout, Dr. Harris?
I don't know. I don't know why Facebook's hating on me.
So, Dr. Jamelia Harris is a Robert Kerwin Postgraduate Research Associate at the Joseph C. Cornwall Center at Rutgers University, Newark. She is a research consultant with expertise in race, gender, class, school discipline, and youth voice. She has supported school districts and organizations across the nation with research-based professional development. Jamelia's primary research focuses on Black girls and how the intersections of anti-Black racism, sexism, and classism shape their daily experiences in school, with a specific emphasis on school discipline and punishment. Prior to joining the Cornwall Center, Dr. Harris worked as a research associate for the African American Policy Forum, where her work supported national advocacy campaigns, including Say Her Name and Her Dream Deferred. She also worked as an associate researcher on a statewide school discipline reform study funded by the California Endowment. And so, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I just want to say thank you all again. I'm missing someone. Who am I missing here?
Dr. Harris.
Dr. Harris is gone again.
Dr. Harris,
Good
something
news.
is happening with you. You're playing games with me this evening, right? And so, Katrina, I'm going to start with you. As I said before, ladies and gentlemen, take this opportunity just to greet each other, to congratulate each other, and just to, give a shout out to whomever is watching us and being with us this evening on our Facebook platform, YouTube platform, wherever they're watching from, or if they're going to be watching the replay. I do ask you just to say good evening to everyone.
All right. So good evening, everyone. Good evening, viewers. Good evening, panelists. Good evening, hosts. I am elated and I'm honored to be here this evening, especially to be on a panel with such empowering women. When I heard your bios, I said, wow, I can't believe I'm here on the same platform. Evening to viewers, I do hope and I would anticipate that there is something in store for every single person listening. My shout out is going to my mother, which I know is watching right now on her phone. Hi, mommy. Mwah. Love you.
Okay. Dr. Bailey, do you want to say hi?
Yes, good evening, all of the wonderful panelists. Good evening to our hostess with the mostest. Good evening to all the viewers from wherever you are watching. And I echo a lot of what Katrina said. I hope that there's something great in store for you. I'm very impressed by all that we have achieved collectively. And so I hope that we're able to inspire other women and empower them as well. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me. Sharona.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mrs. Harris, for reaching out to me. I was a bit nervous about coming here because I thought probably, I would have been as strong as you guys, but I'm glad to see you guys. I'm even more empowered to see after hearing what you guys have, after what I hear Mrs. Harris presented about you guys. My entourage is big, very big. I can't give one name, so I just want to say thank you, everyone who joined. And it's my pleasure to be here. And I'm really looking forward to a wonderful time today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I see all the hellos start flowing in already from the comment corner. Joanne, Banner.
It's just unfortunate that we can't get to see who is watching. We can't really get to see who's watching, so we can't even shout out a specific shout out.
Let me see if there is a way to share it. No, I can't share it right now. Sorry about that. But Dr. Harris, maybe it's because we share surname while
I think you're frozen.
Is it Mrs. Harris that's frozen?
I
Yeah.
think probably someone has to give her a call if it doesn't unfreeze. Probably have to give her a call and ask her to probably restart.
Probably. But I'm sure she'll unfreeze soon.
Dr. Harris, after you were supposed to come in, it just went. Dr. Harris is very powerful lady. There's this force field around her.
I think she's restarting because she disappeared.
She's
Yes.
restarting.
Yes.
She's
Did you see
restarting. I'm sorry?
Yeah, a while ago.
Okay.
I'm going to try to call her.
Right.
We should have a little background music.
Yeah, something.
Dr. Bailey, I heard Mrs. Harris make mention of the fact that you went to Immaculate.
I did. So I've known her for such a long time. Like her daughter and I, we went to prep school together, so Lanneman's prep school, and then we also went to high school together. So that was the last time I saw her, which was graduation. And she's in New Jersey now, and I'm in New York. That's not that far. So hopefully, after this, we can meet up. We're friends on Facebook. She reached out to me, and I was like, oh wow, this would be a really cool idea. I was like, really, me? Like, what did you see? What did you hear? Because I'm such a humble person, I might add, that I don't really showcase, what I do and all that stuff. So so I knew her a long time. Our host is back, yay.
Yeah,
We're
I'm
just making
sorry
small
about that.
talk.
I don't know what happened. I just got the thing that I didn't have connection, so I have no idea. My son is not here, so I tried not to panic. So I just took my time, and here I am again. So my apologies for that. So I see you guys continue the conversation. Thank you so very much. And so, Dr. Harris.
I don't have any specific hellos that I want to give, but I just have to say thank you so much for inviting me into this incredibly powerful space. I'm so honored to be a part of this space. Having grown up in California, it was very uncommon for me to meet other Black Jamaican folks in my community. And so it's just so empowering to be in this community of Black Jamaican women who are really just doing so many great things. And I'm excited to just continue this community outside of this podcast and to continue figuring out ways to support one another. So hello, everyone in Facebook land.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Harris. So I am going to start with you, Dr. Harris, for a change.
Hopefully it doesn't cut out again.
As I said before, thank you so much for joining us and to be with us. You are a research consultant with expertise in race, gender, class, school discipline, and youth voice. You have supported school districts and organizations across the nation with research-based professional development. Can you expound to our listeners and to myself in a simple layman term what all of this is?
Yeah, I think in the most simplest terms, I firmly believe that we need to listen to young people, especially when we're thinking about policies and structures that impact their daily lives. And for me, just to kind of give a little bit of my personal connection to the work that I do, I have an older sibling who had been experiencing school suspensions from the time that he was in kindergarten. And we know that, especially for Black children, that it's very common for Black children to be more likely to be punished in school, suspended, arrested, expelled, and so forth. And it has a lot of implications to do with the broader racial inequality that we're seeing in the prison system, that we're seeing it with these conversations around police brutality. And so what I do in the simplest terms is I ask young people who are subjects of punishment and push out what their ideas are about ways that we can better support them and keep them in schools. Okay. And I use that to inform my work in teaching school teachers and school leaders and principals.
But I'll come to this as I go along. But let me touch with Sharona. Miss Anderson.
I'm here.
You said you're an actuarial scientist, right? But
not as yet, still in the process.
You're still in the process. But I mean, an actuarian is not something or somebody that we heard about a lot, especially in Jamaica. What led you to want to pursue that study, Because it's not a very common thing for us. And what led you to that? And can you explain to persons what that means, what it's all about?
All right. So, growing up, we're told that you should pursue a career in an area that you love. So math was one of my strong areas. So I assessed the different programs that were offered by the University of Technology, and that program was the most fitting one for me. So that's how I got into the program.
But can you explain to our viewers exactly, break down that program for us? Tell us what it entails, what the work involved. What do you do as an actuarial person? What does one as an actuarist? What do they do?
Okay, so an actuarial scientist is someone who uses math to develop programs, models to solve real world problems. Actuarial scientists are mostly found in the insurance field or different areas of risk management. Unfortunately for me, I haven't been able to get real exposure in the area as yet. As you said earlier, the career is not well developed in Jamaica. It's definitely on its rise. So what you'll find is that most actuarial scientists are persons hoping to become an actuarial scientist. We'll find them in different areas of risk management or areas that requires a lot of statistics to be evaluated.
Because as far as I know, growing up, there was only one person that I knew in Jamaica in my early years, and that was Dr. Daisy Coke. You might hear of her. She was the only one who I knew with that title in Jamaica many moons ago. But now I see that it's, I know more and more persons who are now pursuing that area of study. But we read in your bio that you have a rare disorder. Can you tell us what that is and some of the challenges? I really applaud you because you're someone I know personally. I know some of the challenges you face. Can you just explain to us and why you were determined, comes what may, that you're still going to study regardless of your situation?
So back in 2011, I started to have some weakness in my lower limbs. After doing much tests and research, about 2 years after I was diagnosed with having tropical spastic paraparesis, TSP for shortening. In essence, what is it? It's a neurological disorder where the muscles don't work as they should because the impulses that should be sent from the brain to the muscles are not working. So just imagine little workmen on a bridge, breaking down a bridge. So each time you want to cross, you can just think of the challenges. You might fall, you might slip. So when the brain tries to send the message down the spinal cord to my limbs, the message is not sent as strong as it should. So what happens? There's a lot of weakness in the legs. Initially, I started out by just pulling my legs or just walking wobbly. But as the years progress, the disease has worsened. In college, I walked with one cane. Now I'm walking with 2 canes. And every now and then I use a wheelchair. However, despite the challenges, I'm still determined to go forward. Let me just say that the disease is not something that causes great pain, so it is not. It's a little bearable. And given my spiritual development and mental development, those have really kept me going. At one point, I thought what was happening at this young age, it's almost a bit unfair. Why is life doing me this? But as I reached out to different persons, as I got more help, as I turned to God, I just empowered myself. I haven't given up. There's a tons of scriptures. I'm trying to recall one right now that I just pull on each day when things are not going well, when I'm not feeling right, when opportunities don't open to me because of my disability. But there is no great story or champion out there who hasn't have their own challenges. It's my challenge shows. So as you see me, you can see my challenge. However, we've all faced different challenges in different forms. While they may not be visible, they are there. So I know that what I'm facing, while this may be specific to me, the overall challenge is not specific to me. We all have different challenges. So you just have to empower yourselves. As I said earlier, I am one of 9 children. So I know I had to set a good example for my brothers and sisters, and it feels good when I see other persons supporting me. And I just want to say to my fellow members, celebrate small victories in your life. You may not achieve the goal when you want. It might take a little longer, but as you go along, you meet persons, you get to impact another life. Celebrate your small victories so that you can store those, so in times when things are down, you can just pull on those.
Dr. Bailey, let me pull you in here because you specialize in bones, and it's no secret and it's no mystery why we are joined here this evening. You've heard Sharona's story. What do you have to say as someone who works and specializes in areas with the bones and all of that? And you're muted.
Right.
Okay,
So
great.
first, I just wanted to commend Sharona for her strength and her perseverance. Um, I can't imagine how it, must have been when you found out and how you tried to navigate it. But here you are today, and you have such a great story to share. And I just want to say that, I hope you continue what you're doing and continue to inspire and empower people. And as it relates to my own story, that's one of the reasons why I turned to biomedical engineering. So initially, I wanted to, be a lawyer. I don't know how old I was at the time. And when I got to high school, I liked math. I also liked physics. I wasn't great at physics, but I still liked it. And it was just something about like problem solving that got me going. And I was doing my own research, and I thought, well, I don't think I want to be a medical doctor. So how can I? And I didn't even do biology in high school either. So I was like, how do I, combine what I feel like I want to do and make a difference? And so that's where biomedical engineering comes in, where you're using principles of biology, anatomy, and physiology, and also engineering tools to solve, human disorders or human diseases. So I'm not familiar with the one that Sharona has, but that's my reason to make a difference. And so in my research area, we mostly focus on the bone. I am aware of the other parts of the musculoskeletal system. And so I do understand when, the brain isn't communicating as well. And so you're not feeling, it's not, you're not making the movement as you'd want to do. So I can't really speak too much on that, but I do understand the challenges and the process. And as I said, that's one of the reasons why I wanted, to do biomedical engineering, is so that I can make a difference in healthcare and in try to tackle some of the disorders and diseases that we do face daily. So for me, it's musculoskeletal disease, particularly osteoporosis.
Mhm.
And right now in bone cancer, bone metastasis actually. So the primary cancers that metastasize to bone generally are breast cancer for women, prostate cancer, and lung and kidney cancers. The major ones I said are breast and prostate. And so when they do metastasize to bone, one of the complications are bone fractures. And so how do we, treat these disorders or prevent the fractures from occurring so that patients can live a better quality of life?
Okay. It's funny because now I have future Dr. Katrina Walker, who is pursuing her doctor in pharmacy. Yet still this panel was not planned. But here we
Exactly.
are all,
Yeah.
inter related to this thing. Um, Dr. Harris, you have a passion for young Black person. And I applaud you, ladies, because in a society in which we live, in which it is felt that browning or brown or your skin tone and coloring has a lot to do with, people tend to look at skin tone a lot. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so we get a lot of that stigmatization. And as a matter of fact, some years ago in my former job, I actually had someone who said to me in person, and I never spoke to that person after that, other than from a professional point of view, because he said to me that he came to see me to meet me. But when he met me, I could see the surprise on his face. And he said to me, your voice, I thought you were a brown lady. And I said, I beg your pardon? And he said, yes, your voice. I didn't expect to see, I was coming to see a nice, fair person. So thereafter, all the little niceties and the little, pleasantries that we used to share, I just cut that off because, I am who I am. I'm proud of who I am. Ladies, how challenging is it for you, especially Dr. Harris and Dr. Bailey, living in the US of A? It's not so much pronounced in Jamaica because, and still it is, because we have a lot of bleaching going on in Jamaica for persons to try to change their skin tone. How important is it to you all? I want to hear from all of you that you have been able to maintain your dignity of being a young, Black, proud woman.
That is just so important to me, and I just affirm so much that all of us here are brown skin, deep and dark brown skin Black women, and just to your point, Auntie Sharon, just to your point that in the U.S.
You have to give away the secret.
Just to your point, Auntie, that in the U.S. It's especially difficult for dark-skinned Black women because of this broader historical context that it links dark-skinned Black women and dark-skinned Black men especially to these images of chattel slavery. And so we know that a lot of that history around dark-skinned Black people being severely mistreated during slavery still relates to the ways that we're viewed in current society. And so a lot of my upbringing, I experienced being bullied from the time I was in kindergarten, I would say, by other Black people, who were lighter skinned, or other Black people who were even maybe a tone lighter, a shade lighter than me, who were teasing me and calling me names. And I think that I had been bullied pretty much every year all the way up until high school for being a dark-skinned Black girl. And so when I went to college, it was very difficult for me. I remember that my mom, my freshman year, she had got me to take a Black Studies class. And I was just so ashamed of being a Black person because of all of these different messages that I had received growing up around being dark, being a person who grew up in a low income community. And it was very difficult for me to kind of have that moment where I was confronting a lot of our history. But I think that was, for me, a point of turn in how I viewed my Blackness. I actually became a Black Studies major after my freshman year of college. And one of the life-changing moments for me was to hear a speech by Malcolm X, that's called "Who Taught You to Hate Yourself?" And so he's going into these different parts of our Blackness that just makes us so beautiful: our lips, our hair, And he's really just naming who taught us to internalize that whiteness and European aesthetics are what makes us beautiful. And from that point on, I've worked so much with young Black girls, especially who look like me, in really just teaching them what it means to love themselves, because I think that so much of that goes into manifest into everything else that we do in our lives. So I think that it's just really important for us to emphasize that we're affirming young Black girls, especially young dark-skinned Black children.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me move on. Katrina, let me hear your view on that, please, about loving yourself, the tone you're in, the texture you're in. Let me hear your view on that, please.
All right. So to give it some context, so for most of the listeners, they would have heard that I'm in Jamaica. I grew up in Jamaica and I've been living in Jamaica. I'm 23 years old now. I do believe that in our society, we do have a deeply rooted colorism issue. And I think that it came out in many ways. However, and this is why I always have to be grateful, eternally grateful for my mother. Since I was young, my mother always used to tell me I was beautiful and beautiful and beautiful. And she didn't put conditions on it. However, what I noted as I grew up, and I even noted it more as I entered high school, is that many of the compliments I would get were always tied into my skin tone.
Mm-hmm.
First, be saying, for a Black girl, you're pretty, For a Black girl, you're pretty. So and that is why I say that there's a deeply rooted colorism issue, because here it is that compliments are being given. However, we have to put a condition on the compliment to say that for a Black girl, I am. And I realize
it's conditional.
It is conditional.
Yes.
That is exactly what the subconscious message that was being transmitted to children growing up, and to adults even now, that the beauty, that the dignity, that everything that comes along with you is somewhat conditional. So those were things that I actually started to note a bit later in my life. And I do believe it was a blessing. I don't feel as though I was robbed of anything in my childhood, because my mother was so reassuring of me growing up. I never had to question it. However, because of that strongly rooted home that I was coming from, with my mother always giving me the reassurance unconditionally, I personally never questioned my beauty, my confidence, regardless of my skin tone and regardless of what persons had said to me at that point. But it is an issue, and it's an issue that I think is affecting women in our society a lot more than we have spoken about or have acknowledged.
Wow. It's funny, because I can definitely, relate to that conditional. For a Black person, I didn't expect you to be Black, you didn't sound Black. So I didn't know that, there was a particular sound to being Black. Dr. Bailey, I'm going to leave you for last. Sharona, let me hear you.
So as a part of our education system here in Jamaica, while we're taught the Black history, we're never taught about self-love. And most parents don't teach the children about self-love. So we grew up not knowing anything about self-love. So what might happen, or what has been happening, is that you have other influencers out there, musicians, actresses, who are influencing how persons should view themselves. And as such, we see the confusion in our society today, where persons are led to believe that if you're not of a certain skin type, then you are less than. So as young adults, young influencers, and as parents, we need to take the time out to introduce to our kids what real self-love is. Because when you go out there in the world, you cannot stop what they're going to be exposed to. So it's good to build them from the home. I haven't faced racism or been complimented on being, as Dr. Walker said, pretty just because I'm black. But I know other persons have experienced it. In fact, where I am currently employed, I was told by an employee who worked there for several years that probably back then in the 90s, persons of my skin type, my color, would not have been employed there because the status quo was to employ light skinned persons. So
Mm-hmm.
Jamaica has definitely come a far way. We still have a far way to go, but there's hope. There's hope with persons like Dr. Walker and myself, Dr. Bailey. We'll get over it.
It's funny, Sharona, because in years gone by, even up into the mid 70s, early 80s, banking was really for the fair skinned. The Jamaican quote unquote whites were the ones who were the branch man. If you did even find a teller, someone working in the bank, you wouldn't find him on the teller line. You would find him maybe as an admin assistant, somewhere that they would be pushed to the back. So we have come a far way. I remember when I went into the banking system in 19, I think, 86. I mean, we were just breaking into having Black people really penetrating that field of being Black and bold and really getting along. And it's amazing because even in today's structure, Dr. Bailey, I'm coming right back to you. Even in today's structure, I'm sure that a lot of the pay checks are not balanced.
Right.
When you look at the color thing and you balance them, I'm sure that if you check into it, a lot of our pay scales are not on the same level of persons of different culture. But Dr. Bailey, let me hear your take on this, please.
Sure. So, just as Sharona and Katrina said, like growing up in Jamaica, it's no secret that colorism exists. It existed in our own family as well, where if we had siblings that were lighter color, somehow it feels like they got like preferential treatment,
Mm-hmm.
or they were excused for certain behaviors. And then I don't think I'd experienced it much until when I got to high school. Like, as I mentioned before, I went to Immaculate High School. That's in Kingston, and so when you hear the motto "out of many, one people," that was my experience. When you saw Chinese, when you saw Indian, when you saw white, when you saw black, and even within black, you saw the different shades of black. But the
Mm-hmm.
darker you are, you felt like you needed more. You know what I mean? So you can't just be black. You have to be black and slim. You have to be black with nicer hair. You have to be black with like, a nice face. Like you can't just be black and beautiful. It has to
Mm-hmm.
be conditional. There's something else that will separate you. So I did notice that a lot while I was in high school. And then like moving to America, I didn't really experience colorism as much. So now it's switched to racism. And fortunately, I haven't experienced it, as many would, acknowledge. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
just very grateful for that. Like, when I'm doing, I went to school in New York City, which we know is supposed to be like the melting pot, supposed to be diverse. But I'm in engineering. Number one, I'm a woman. Number two, I am black. And then I'm doing engineering. Like that's just for white men. So when I was in school, there was only two of us that were black, and they got us confused. Like for some reason, we looked the same. So and we wore glasses. It confused them. And then I
Mm-hmm.
went to graduate school, and again I would look around, and I was like the only black person in the classroom. So I had to figure out how to navigate that. But I had like very good mentors. I had friends that didn't really see me as, oh, she's a black girl,
Mm-hmm.
or she's a pretty black girl, whatever it is. So
Mm-hmm.
and even now with my postdoc fellowship, even when I move on, so I'm starting a new position as assistant professor. I'll just put that plug in, and I am the only black person in the department. And so do I think that if I was lighter I'd be more accepted? Not really. I think my husband makes the joke all the time. He says you walk around with a halo. So for some reason, when they see me, they are much more polite and they're much more nice or kind, and they
Mm-hmm.
don't say, "Oh, like here's just this other, rude black girl or like demanding black girl," or they link it to like, the African American experience. So I'm just like I'm, as I said, I'm so grateful that God has put me in these little pockets, and now I'm moving on to like a a new area, and I'm wondering too, like, what's that going to be like? You know, New York has been a safe haven for me, and I've figured out somehow how to navigate it. But I do know that it's a real issue, and it will come up. And I just hope that when it does, I am, you know, wise enough and strong enough to handle it. That's all I can hope for. But I wouldn't say I've never wished that I was lighter, but it's not something that I think about like constantly, because I know that when you are lighter, you get different treatments, you know.
Mhm.
So, but and I'm also like, I would say I'm pro-black, but I'm also not like pro-black where I like go out on the streets and like, oh, you got to do this, this, and this. So I'm kind of in the middle where I accept. I guess I'm too accepting for what it is, and I just
Mhm.
try to walk the line and just like, I guess, be in my own little world, and yeah, just try to navigate it. But I understand it exists.
Okay, so let me just take a moment and just give some shout out to persons who have joined us, and to you out there in Facebook land. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for tuning in on YouTube as well, and just thanks for joining in with Sears Bite and a Mouthful, where I have a panel of interesting young women, all who have attained the greatness in their 20s. So, you know, it's just amazing. But Vanessa Anna is online and she's shouting out to the beautiful ladies. Katrina, then we have Vanna, Anna, we have Abigail Boyd, Katrina's fan again. We have Savannah, and then we have Savannah Walker. That sounds like a relation to Katrina. Let me see who else we have online. We have Joel Ann Smith, Abigail again. You ladies are getting a lot of love and a lot of shout out. Immaculate Beauty. Christopher Edwards says, listening to you, Sharona, you just lifted my spirit. Joel Ann Smith said, a very touching story. Love that your spirit is up, Sharona. And of course, I told them thanks on you ladies' behalf. My friend Tensi Ramsey is online and she says, see, I'm in the audience. Okay, Tensi, I see you and I hear you. And Vanessa says she totally agree with what you ladies have said. But Stacy, Dr. Bailey, my apologies, you touched on something important where you said you try to walk the line. Ladies, can I ask you, because my grandmother always says that we are the ones, we market ourselves. Do you think that our deportment, the way how we carry ourselves, the way that we speak, the way how we talk, the way that we, well, not let me not say we, you ladies carry yourself has a lot to do with how you are treated?
Yeah, I do. I have like the chief, and he says, you know, why are you always so serious? You know, and he's like, are you nervous? And I was like, no, not really. But there's just some times when you just have to like take it in, and so you know you can't see it, right? But they can see it, and so you have to be you have to have self awareness. And then there are other times where I can freely be myself around people, and then that's when they, you know, get a feel of my personality. So I do think like the way you speak, the way you act, the way you dress, the way you, it's a whole package, right? It's more like, you know, like someone had said, like dress how you want to be addressed. So
Mm-hmm.
I and I feel
Can
like
you
I always have to put
hold on, Dr. Bailey? Repeat that for me. Dress
how you would
how
like to
you
be addressed.
want,
Yeah.
how you'd like to be addressed. I
Yeah.
love that. Okay,
So
that's a
I
new one
do
for me.
no problem. So I do experience that a lot,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in my professional life, and even as I go out, as I said, you know, to do errands. You know, I don't know that there is a halo like my husband said, but I'm glad that there is, because then I can have a better interaction with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do think that yeah, you there should be some level of self awareness.
Okay. That same question is coming out to all you ladies.
Okay, so Dr. Harris, you'd like to go first? I saw that you okay. All right, so I do believe that the way in which you present yourself is a representation of you. However, your choice of representation, in my opinion, is your choice of your self-expression. The dressed how you want to be addressed. It's actually last week I had an in-depth discussion with someone about that. I don't necessarily disagree with it altogether. However, I believe that to an extent, especially in certain spaces, and anyone can chime in on this. Sometimes women and Black women, darker skinned women, I think have to feel the need to be overcompensating. And that is where I have the issue with the dress how you want to be addressed. I think that the respect and how persons are treated is this regardless of who you are and how you come across, unless it's a disrespectful tone or manner. However, I believe that once you present yourself as a person, the onus is on the person that you're interacting with to treat you with respect. Because I don't believe that any respect is earned by virtue of something that you're doing before even the interaction. So I do agree with represent yourself in a way that you are comfortable with, and so a way that represents you holistically, a way that you are proud of, and a way that most importantly you are comfortable in. But I do believe that regardless of how someone comes across to you, because someone coming across as a certain way to you may be due to your own socialization. Of course, we have our barriers. We have our hard limits that we know we won't accept, we will accept. But I do believe that the onus is on the persons in the interaction to maintain a line of respect regardless.
I want to go after that because I completely align with everything that you just said, Dr. Walker. I now realize, reflecting back a lot on just my experiences in K through 12, how much I think how much me presenting myself in the ways that that I presented myself allowed me to just sort of have a lot of more positive relationships with my teachers. And in my research, I really kind of complicate that notion that a lot of times that when we see Black girls in particular who have these adverse experiences in school where they're getting in trouble more with their teachers, they tend to be the girls. It's a sociological concept that we call between good and ghetto. And so it's kind of this spectrum of femininity that especially positions dark-skinned Black girls who are from low-class backgrounds as ghetto, whereas Black girls who present themselves in ways where they're quote-unquote articulate and align more with respectability politics, they're positioned as good girls. And so we know that that has a lot of implications for how Black girls are treated in school. And when I reflect back, I think about how many of my teachers treated me as a teacher's pet because I had always been very soft-spoken. The teachers would say that I talked like a white girl, and I always kind of got that comment about just being very proper, being very articulate, being just a very good student. And a lot of that had to do with the opportunities that I was extended with being put into advanced courses. And so I really tried through my work to fight back against that and advocate for a world where Black girls can show up as their full selves, whether that be that they want to be loud in class, whether that mean that they want to show up to work and wear bonnets on their head. This week, it's been a lot of discussion around Black women showing up with bonnets on their hair, and to really just be treated with respect and dignity and to be given the same opportunities as non-Black women would to be able to just be authentic in who they are. And so I really just affirm what you said, that we should be allowed to show up and just be authentic to who we are.
Yeah, I do agree. We should be allowed to accept that we are. You know what I mean? And you feel like you're always overcompensating. Like if I have an interview and I'm thinking, well, what will this color say or show? And I'm like, but what if I just want to wear that color? You know, so you feel like you're always overcompensating because you don't really have the upper hand. Like you want to express yourself, but then for some reason when you do, there's like this pushback. So you feel like you're like, you know, you have to, as I keep saying, like walk in that line where it's like, you know what, it's not in my hands, but I of course I'm not gonna make myself uncomfortable, right? So it's like it's where you find that sweet spot, so that way you can like, you know, be successful. And you're right, like the way how you speak, the way you dress, the way you talk, the way you act, you are treated differently, and you shouldn't feel that stress or that weight on you that you're always overcompensating. You should be able to go as you want.
Sharona, you have been quiet on this one.
Right. Well, I did open my mic to speak now, but I gave Dr. Bailey the opportunity to finish up.
Okay.
Your deportment actually is a form of self-expression, and persons read into your self-expression and treat you as is. We have to be realistic and just very upfront. There are different areas, different events that might find ourselves, and the event and the different areas require certain deportment. So those are standard. So we just have to be cognizant of our different surroundings and how we want others to treat us. I heard Dr. Harris speak about the wearing of the bonnet, but you just have to be cognizant of the message that you're sending, because persons probably of different classes may not understand when you decide to express yourself away, and as such you're treated differently. It all comes down to maturity also. As you mature and you get to understand your surroundings better and others better, and you get to love yourselves better, then we make different decisions. I can remember back in high school, I only wanted to wear things that are short and tight.
Which high school was that?
The Holy Child High School.
Okay.
I only wanted to wear things that are short and tight. But as you mature, you realize that short and tight, while there's a space for short and tight sends a specific message when you're to others when you're short and tight. So as I said, as you grow and you're exposed to different persons, different countries, to understand how different cultures, there are different changes in different cultures, then you form your true identity, and how you express yourself definitely, as I said, communicate to others.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me just try to pinpoint on a few questions that I had pre-prepared. Dr. Walker, what pushed you to greatness and achievement? And was pharmacy your first love? If not, when and how did you become interested in the area you are in?
Okay, thank you for that. Thank you for those questions. It's almost Dr. Walker, so Dr. almost Dr. Walker.
Look, I know you're going to get there, and I'm coming to be in the celebration, so I'll just give it to you from now. Do you agree with me, ladies? Exactly. So go ahead, Dr. Walker.
Thank you very much. All right. So for the first question, what pushed me to greatness or achievement? I don't believe I've achieved my greatness yet. I believe my greatness is in the
on your path to greatness.
But on the path to greatness and I think that two things contributed to it. One was a firmly rooted and grounded home. My mother has always seen so much in me that I haven't seen in myself. And because I had that strong support system and someone that saw what I loved, saw what I liked, and worked with me, she didn't try to change me in any way. She worked where she met me where I was, and she helped me to develop. I realized that I had opportunities, and I took hold of opportunities to develop my own interest and to really indulge in things that I was interested in. So I think that with her help as well, the second component to it has been how I've been able to manage all that I've been able to do. I've always liked to be involved in a young age, and this is going to tie into why I did pharmacy. I have no talent in terms of singing and dancing. I'm not an athlete. I don't have any of those gifts. What I do have is a love for helping persons because I thought that that is what I could do best. So from I was young, mommy always helped to facilitate that. When I went into high school, I continued to do that. However, with adding another dimension to my life,
What high school did you attend?
I attended the Immaculate Conception High School. No, with adding that dimension to my life, apart wasn't just academics, but it had to do with me balancing extracurriculars, me just going out and joining groups and doing things because I think that this is what I like to do and I have fun doing it. I had to learn to balance and manage my time. And I'm telling you, you see, from I got time management, came together because I was able to organize my life and take control of each aspect of my life as I need. So that's to answer the first part.
And you said your mom is online and she wouldn't be any other place.
Okay.
So she's here bigging you up. Important point made, Katrina. She don't even say my daughter, she says Katrina. So she's here pushing you along the way. Don't worry.
Thank you. And regarding why I chose pharmacy, wow, it's a long time coming. Mrs. Harris, you would have known that from I could speak. I've been
wanted to be a teacher.
Everyone knows that from I was young, I wanted to be a teacher. And I'm telling you, as long as God gives me life, I will be teaching a classroom before I die. So I still have that love for imparting knowledge, and I still have to strive. As I continued in high school, I liked all the subjects. I did a range of subjects in CSEC, which would have been O levels. I'm not sure if anyone else here is familiar with it. When I went to sixth form, I continued with sciences mainly, right? I loved geo and I loved math. I loved physics. And for a while, I told mommy that I was going to do geophysics. And that was my little plan. I was going to become a geophysical engineer. However, when I really thought about what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, I knew that my career path, I wanted it to involve me helping others directly. That is when I decided that I think what I want to do is going to healthcare. So it was always in the back of my mind, especially when I chose the sciences to do healthcare. But I made the decision with healthcare as opposed to any engineering degree. Engineering degrees are lovely, math degrees are lovely. I love them all. Trust me, I have so much respect for you all. But I felt as though for the rest of my life, I would want to be directly working with patients to help them in their journey of wellness. Pharmacy. I thought about a patient's journey to wellness, and I decided that I wanted to be at the treatment leg of their journey to wellness. And that is why I've chosen pharmacy.
Okay. Now you see why she is a young politician in the making. She is a doctor. She is a advocate. She's everything. She has been a talker from before she could talk. Dr. Bailey, I told the young ladies prior to your joining us this evening, didn't really say what, but I'm just so happy that you're here. I really appreciate it. You and I know why I say that. So thank you so much. And if at any point you feel like you want to go early, I quite understand. But tell us, you said you are a first generation college graduate. What pushed you?
I think a little bit of what Katrina said. Like, I don't have any other talents. I don't sing. I mean, I used to do dancing, right? You remember dancing?
You used to dance
back in like prep school days, but like after high school, there was no support for me to continue in the arts in terms of like my parents. My mom moved away.
Your mom had migrated, right?
Yeah, so it was my dad and my stepmom, and it was just too many of us. And they were more like, just focus on your studies. And that's what I was good at. So I was good at getting good grades. And I thought, well, that would be my my route to, having a successful life, having a successful career, giving back to my own family, my mother, and my siblings as well. So my journey was just like, hey, what else are you gonna do? Like we were taught, like you go to school, you get an education, you get a good job, you buy a nice house, you get married, you have kids, and then do it over and over again until you die. So, um, but I, in my own, search for fulfillment in my career, I wanted to help others. And so that's why for me, even though it's like engineering, it's like, biomedical. And so I do clinical research with patients. I don't, and then on the other side of it, I do like preclinical research. So trying to find cures for, certain disorders,
different ailments and all
disorders.
of that.
Yeah. So I hope I answered that question. I think I made a
Question
loop
to
and then I
you
forgot.
though. Watching you grow up, prep school, high school, and all of that, because I actually, firsthand with you because you and my daughter came up through the rank,
Yeah.
same prep school, same high school, immaculate. Did you see yourself as being where you are, what field you're in? What did you want to do initially? Did you see yourself as, was it a sibling rivalry educationally why you got to where you are now?
No, I think it's just like from my own upbringing. I have an older brother. He has an intellectual disability, so technically I am the eldest. And
Mhm.
so the push, I just didn't see another way. You know what I mean? So that was just more my drive, like just understanding your situation and understanding like what you want, and then just like going for it. So it wasn't any sibling rivalry. It wasn't even any peer rivalry either. Like I don't pay attention. Like of course I know what my friends are doing and I applaud them for doing it, but they weren't the push either.
Mhm.
I have friends, your daughter, like she's a great example where she's just like knocking them out. Like she's always studying, she's just a rock star. So I didn't have sibling rivalry. I didn't have like peer rivalry either. It's just something from within. Like I realized that I have to do it for myself. I have to do it for my mom, my dad. My mom has two kids, so I keep saying my mom. My dad, he has the other ones. Like I will leave them to go figure it out for him. Um, so yeah, and then just realizing that I couldn't see another way. So now
Another
I'm
pathway.
another pathway. So now I have my degree. I can have free time to look at all the pathways. And so
Mhm.
that's what I've been doing in my spare time as well. Like how can I, um, you know, live a more fulfilling life. So
Okay, great. Sharona, what pushed you? What gave you? You have an entire entourage to yourself,
Right.
and you're all doing excellently. But what pushed you to want to achieve, especially, I mean, with all the challenges you have, a lot of people would have given up. What kept you going?
Well, for me, I wasn't supported. I wasn't surrounded with much success. So I didn't see success in my family. So I wanted to chart a different course for myself. My mother and father have 9 children. So that's looking back, probably they could have planned better. But
But what if they're planning better? You did not make it in the
no,
night.
I'm the third one. I'm the third one. So the planning could have taken place with the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, the eighth, but not necessarily the third one. So, so after seeing the decisions and the choices that my parents made,
Mm-hmm.
it's always good for the next generation to do better than the previous generation. So
Mm-hmm.
I decided from very early that I'm going to do better and my decisions are going to be much wiser. Just like Dr. Bailey and Dr. Walker, there was no other special talents. Couldn't do sports, sing or dance. So education was my vehicle for upward social mobility. A little different from Dr. Bailey's experience having 9 siblings. Sibling rivalry was a part of my daily life.
Mm-hmm.
As the third one, my previous the two before me didn't really make much of their opportunities. So as the third one, there was a lot on my shoulder, and I enjoy setting
And you were the first girl, right?
Right, I was the first girl. So two boys before, so I'm the first girl. So I enjoy setting barriers for my siblings, and it pushed them to strive and to even try to do better. As I said, it's always good for one generation to do better than the next generation. So it's always good to see my siblings also doing well. So we would compete, not to the point that we hurt each other, insult each other, but just to push each other. And when you have competition like we do, it only helps to build us, because each one want to do well. Each one sees what success is like, and of course they want to experience that success. And of course you also want to make your mom proud and your dad proud after working hard. It's one of the things that as children, black children, we are really expected to do, to make our parents proud of us. So I'm just living up to that. And it has been a wonderful experience thus far. Success really tastes good. Dr. Walker can attest to that. She has a lot of accolades. Success really tastes good, and when you see success, you want more. As you grow and you're exposed to different areas, and you get another chance to see what success is, then you also want some for yourself and also for your family.
Okay, awesome. Dr. Harris, the same question comes to you. What pushed you? Was it rival, sibling rivalry? What was it?
Definitely not a sibling rivalry. I would say that if anything, my brother has been one of the biggest motivations for everything that I've done in my career, in my life. Just his story has always been something for me that I hold close to my heart, and so my brother had always been the brilliant one, though he wasn't good in terms of how the school viewed him. He wasn't a good student. I had always been the student that had just such good relationships with my teachers, and from kindergarten, I knew that I wanted to be a teacher someday. I always would line my teddy bears up and would play school in my backyard, and I always just really knew that college would be a part of my journey. And that's very interesting because I'm also a first generation, and so no one else in my family, up until the point that I had went and got my PhD, because now my mom is finishing her bachelor's degree and I'm so proud of her. No one else in my family before me had went that route. And so I don't know what it was that had inspired me.
Let me correct you there. No one else that you knew of, or you should say from the maternal side, but from your maternal side, there were, but you just didn't know of them.
So I grew up with my maternal side in California, and from my maternal side, I had no one in my family who had went to college before. And so with that, I think that I always just had very good relationships with my teachers. But I also grew up in a community where it was very common to see Black folks struggling. It was very common to see Black folks who were just really being mistreated by our government, being mistreated by the police. And for me, that was a really big push to be active in my community and to be an activist in my own right. And so when I went on to college, I got very involved in organizing with Black Lives Matter, organizing with other social justice and advocacy campaigns. And I think that in my heart, a lot of that has just been deeply rooted around my brother, but also in just seeing how other Black children who grew up in similar environments as me were not in many ways afforded the same opportunities that I was, and really just wanting to create conditions where there are those kinds of barriers don't exist for them.
You know, what's interesting to me is that because I know you all ladies, I don't know for Dr. Bailey, but I presume, I know that Sharona offers her services where she takes, kids, young people in, high school, kindergarten, wherever they are. And she has a teaching program that she teaches within her community. I know Katrina also did the same. I know Dr. Harris has done the same. Dr. Bailey, do you offer anything like that currently or plan to?
I know you must have given for the most part. Yeah, for the most part, I've just joined with other groups. So whether it be like student groups, like for example, there's a Black Family STEM Day that I participate in. So
Mm-hmm.
we do have like science workshop for middle school kids. I've also tutored high school students who I would say they're at a, they're like from low income, they don't really do well in school. And so I offer my services to them as well.
Mm-hmm.
I've been part of just like in my professional life. So for example, the Black Student Association and for Black Postdoc Association as well. So I do outreach, not personally, but with other people as well. Like I
Right.
join in and I work with them. Yeah.
Okay, great. Awesome. Ladies, I mean, we have already gone 1 hour and 15 minutes, and so we're winding down.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Walker, Dr. Bailey, um, Dr. Henderson, because the next couple of years I will be calling you Dr. Anderson. Dr.
Dr.
Harris.
Anderson hyphen something. Smith.
Excuse me, Dr. Anderson hyphen the name to be given.
Okay.
Um, Let me thank you, ladies, all so very much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know I'm not going to keep Katrina any longer because she's preparing for exams now. And I'm really honored because I know when it comes on to studying, this young lady does not take it lightly at all. So I am honored that she has given me time out of her busy study schedule this evening. But before we go, and before I ask you for each for your parting words, um, it's such a joy, such a thrill. You are all ladies that I have watched grow. Dr. Harris, as you know, some people might be wondering, she's my niece. Um, Dr. Bailey, at what age did you get your PhD? Because you all are ladies who have been achieving in your 20s.
Hmm. So that was back in 2016. I believe I was 27.
27,
Yeah.
right. Mm-hmm.
Like giving away my age
And
here.
Dr.
Yeah.
Harris, you got yours at what age?
26.
6.
26.
And Katrina, you will be 24 when you graduate, right?
Will be.
And Dr. Henderson, you are finishing up your master's now. And I'm sure that in another 3 years, the most, I'm giving you to have your PhD designation. And I know you won't fail me.
That's
But
true.
I recently started a charity arm to see us bite in a mouthful. And thanks to some of my friends, because when I reached out to them, this is how I do business. I just call Dr. Bailey, beg you $50. Dr. Anderson, beg you $50. Dr. Walker, can I get $50? Dr. Harris, I need $50. I'm not telling you what I need it for. I just need it. And so I roped in some of my friends and they all contributed. And so I was able to make a contribution of a fridge to somebody who was in need. I was able to make a cash contribution towards another participant who had been on the show who, we just wanted to bless. And so we have started this year's um, the CS cause, which is I'm going to be launching that soon as a nonprofit organization. However, I am looking to each and every one of you as we develop a mentorship program and create seminars for our young Black women because we want to empower them. We want to let our Black women know that they are loved. We want to let our Black women know that they have value, that they have worth. And we just want to motivate them because this is what CS Bite and a Mouthful is all about, inspiration. So I will be calling upon each of you very soon for your expertise in hosting these seminars and so forth. And so I ask each of you for a parting word. And in Jamaica, we say at home stays last. So Dr. Harris will be giving us last. So, Dr. Walker,
All right.
you're
Thank you
close to
for
Dr. Harris on the screen. So I go with you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Harris. And of course, I'm willing to help at any point in time with mentorship. I'm looking forward to that call. To the viewers, thank you very much for listening. I do hope that you found something, a bite full of something inspirational, a bite full of something edifying. My parting message to you will be, don't allow fear to hold you back, regardless of what's going on. Sometimes, because of circumstances, because of whatever is going on in your environment, because of whatever intrapersonal battles that you're facing, it's so easy to slide into the comfort, not doing it something that you really want to do, not pursuing something really under the guise of fear. I am asking you, I am begging every single person listening to kill that fear. Go for it in spite of. Go for it despite. Apply, speak, write something. Whatever it is that you want to do, regardless of the circumstances and what you think is against you, please go for it. Please.
Thank you so much. Don't allow fear to hold us back. That's the message from Dr. Walker. Young, gifted, and Black woman of excellence. We continue. Sharona.
Again, let me just thank everyone who joined this evening. I know that you must be really busy, must be really tired, but I'm very thankful that you took the time out to join us this evening. My few departing words, I just want to say to everyone, success is there for everyone. It can be shared among everyone. It's there for the taking. Just go after it. Be prepared to face challenges. You may not know in what form they may come, but there's no great story without challenges. As you prepare for success, please work on your mental health and your spiritual health. Build up your mental and spiritual deposits, because there are going to come times when challenges or things just not go your way, and you're going to need those empowering words, thoughts. So you pull on your mental and your spiritual development and growth. Surround yourself with persons who are positive, and if you can, surround yourself with success, because success follows success. And just take it easy. I can say as a young person, we want success quickly. Sometimes success takes too long, but just trust the process. Celebrate your small victories and give yourself time, and just be grateful as others help you. Please remember to help others along the way. As Dr. Walker said, we are not yet successful or where we are now. However, where possible, help someone along their journey, just as I or you have been helped. Thank you.
Amen. Dr. Bailey.
Right. First and foremost, thank you very much, Mrs. Harris, for putting this together and for inviting me on. You know my situation, but I felt a lot better today, and I'm very happy that I was able to hear each and every one of your stories. I think Dr. Harris has said earlier, we hope to keep this community so that we can, continue to hear about each other and to support each other in any way possible. So thank you for hosting it, and thank you very much for all the panelists for sharing your story, and thank you for the viewers who tune in this evening. And we hope that you are inspired by what we have achieved, and of course we said we want to achieve more. I just want to say, if opportunities come, you should take them, and you should align yourself to get opportunities. I didn't get here just because of, who I am or what I look like, but for people who God put in my way and in my path, and I took those opportunities. And so when you see them, you should grab them. And if you need anything, or if you need opportunities yourself, reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to ask. There's always someone, and when one door closes, another one, I guarantee you, will open. So just keep knocking and just keep going for those opportunities. The sky's the limit. So that's all I say, and thank you very much for having me.
And then also remember that sometimes the door might not open, but you might have to look towards the window, because As long as you're able to open that window, you have exit and entry. So sometimes don't always just keep looking towards the door. We have to look other areas as well. Dr. Harris.
Well, you saved me for last, so I have to follow up all of these just empowering and inspiring words that everyone shared. But first and foremost, I just want to say thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your stories and for just allowing me to be a part of this space. And thank you to everyone who tuned in. I hope that you received something that motivated you or inspired you or gave you hope. And that you will be able to carry with you throughout your journey. Over the past 2 weeks, I've just been doing like very intense meditation on my own purpose and on specifically and really just thinking about the purpose and vision that God has over my life, and something that I have consistently come through and through and through is to really just lean into faith and trust that God has a purpose and vision for your life, whether or not you can see that. And so I think that my parting words, I would want to defer to Psalms 37, which says, Psalms 37, verse 23, which says that a person's steps are made secure by the Lord when they delight in his way. Though they trip up, they won't be thrown down because the Lord holds their hand. And so with that, I would have to say that just so much of my life's blessings have been rooted in the ways that I've lived in God's light and lived in the purpose that God has put over my life. And I just want to encourage everyone to lean into that, that when you are in moments of just uncertainty and questioning whether or not the steps that you are taking, that I think that it's just so important that you pray over those decisions that you're making, pray over those steps, those opportunities, and you really are just ensuring that every step that you make is not rooted in you chasing after the bag and chasing after prosperity, but that you're chasing and aligning with the purpose that God has put over your life. And so I pray that is something that resonates with the listeners out there. And I'm just, again, so honored to be a part of this conversation. Thank you. Auntie Sharon.
That name is not for this program. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been an awesome 1 hour, 27 minutes and 30 seconds. My motto is that for every program, my aim is that I leave you more inspired than you came. I hope that in watching us this evening, in listening to us this evening, I'm speaking to a mother out there who might say, well, my financial situations are not what, it might be. How do I help my child financially? I'm speaking to that child who feels a sense of doom because they don't know where the next dollar is going to come from. As Jamelia just said, Dr. Harris just said, trust in the Lord with all your might. Lean not unto your own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Trust the process. Learn to pray, learn to trust, learn to have faith, and keep the inspiration, keep the hope high and extended. Help will come through. It has been an awesome evening. I have had so much fun being in the company of these young women. I have watched them grown. There's a little song says when a girl changes from Bobby socks to stockings. I have had the pleasure of watching these young ladies just growing and just transforming. And, just to, as in closing, I say, and I've always said, that life is a mystery. We have no idea who is coming into our lives. We have no idea why they have come into our lives and for how long they will be in our lives. Because when I knew you all young ladies, nothing led me to what this evening is. Although you all knew me doing different stuff, but nothing really led me to this program this evening. But yet still here we are sitting wherever you are in the world. We are all joined here this evening. And so I thank you so very much Artist, congratulations to each and every one of you. I am so super proud of you. I did ask my daughter to join us, but she didn't want to. And, you know, as you said, Dr. Bailey, you know that, you all know that she is one of those hummingbirds that she just never stops. She's always like this energizer bunny. She has to find something that she keeps going. Her batteries are never done. What she's going to do next, maybe Dr. Bailey, you will know maybe more than I do, you know, but Dr. Harris will know also because, you know, they are this kind of a type. But ladies, thank you so much. Just hang on a quick sec. Let me just end this broadcast and we can just chit chat for a moment or two. To you out there, Facebook land, YouTube watching, bye. Thank you so much for joining me. And until next week, Wednesday, when we will be joined by another awesome set of panelists. You take care, have a good week, and see you here next week, Wednesday, 7 p.m. again, when we will have a lively discussion that will once again leave you inspired. Have a good evening. Thank you.